What's up, Proaye fans? I'm your host, Proaye Games, where we learn from A to Z. And today, we're going to see all the new Pokemon cards called Shiny Revelry. First up is Weedle, which does is put one random Weedle from your deck onto your bench, which is going to be really helpful for building up your Beedrill EX. Next up is Kakuna, which basically does is flip a coin. It heads your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed, which is going to be real helpful because when they're paralyzed, if they don't get heads, they won't be able to attack you. Next up is Beedrill EX, which does is discards a random energy from your opponent's active Pokemon, which is going to be real helpful, especially against Misty decks, because you get rid of their energies or other Pokemon decks. Next up is Pinsir, which does is flip a coin until you get tails. This attack does 40 more damage for each heads. That's going to be really good if you can get those heads. But not the best card. Next up is Sprigatito, which we showed this one from the other day, which does is put one random grass Pokemon from your deck into your hands, which is going to be real helpful for building up your grass Pokemon decks. And you can even run it by itself if you want to. Next up is Florida Gato, which does is slash does 40 damage. Next up is Masquerade, which does is if your opponent's active Pokemon is a EX Pokemon, this attack does 70 more damage, which is going to be really helpful against those EX Pokemon if you want to take them out really fast. Next up is Charmander, which I'm excited we're finally getting a new Charizard card, which does 20 damage. And next up is Charmeleon, which also does is 40 damage. Next up is Charizard. Stroke. Take 3 fire energy from your energy zone and attach it to this Pokemon. That sounds so good. But we will have to wait and see. It's going to be real helpful against the steel type decks. And this also does 50 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon in the active zone. Next up is Magmar, which does 20 damage. Next up is Mad Motor, which does is during your opponent's next turn, if the defending Pokemon tries to use an attack, your opponent flips a coin. If tails, that attack does nothing. Basically is if he gets heads, your opponent will be able to attack. If they don't get heads, they won't be able to attack that turn. That's going to be really helpful. Helpful. Next up is Paldean Tauros. This Pokemon also does 20 damage to itself. And it does 80 damage. Which, that sounds kind of terrible. But hopefully it ain't bad. Next up is Paldea Tauros, which does is 10 damage to itself and also does 80 damage to your opponent's Pokemon. which 10 damage ain't bad doing it to itself, but it's not good damaging yourself. Next up is Tentacle, which does 10 damage to your opponent's Pokemon. Tentacruel, which does 40 damage to your opponent's Pokemon. Blazel does 10 damage to the opponent's Pokemon. Next up is Floatzel, which this attack does 30 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon, which is going to be real helpful for building Greninja decks, I think, or Adder decks with water in them. Next up is Wiglet, which one of your opponent's Pokemon is chosen at random. Do 30 damage to it. So I think it's basically saying is your opponent's Pokemon is chosen at random. Do 30 damage to opponent's Pokemon. I'm curious what that will mean. But we will wait and have to see. But let me know in the comments down below what that means. Okay, Proaye fans? Next up is I don't know how to say it. What? I don't know how to say this. Wugtrio? Wugtrio? I think that's how you say it. Wugtrio. Which is one of your opponent's Pokemon is chosen at 3 random times. For each time a Pokemon was chosen, do 50 damage to it. Which I don't know what it does either. But we will have to wait and see. Next up is Donzoto. I don't know how to pronounce this Pokemon either. Which I'm not good at pronouncing new Pokemon Proaye fans. But let me know if I get it wrong, okay? Which this attack also does 10 damage to each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Which I don't know how good it will be. But it doesn't sound good, to be honest. Next up is Tatsu Gali. I don't know. I don't know how to pronounce this either. Your active Donzo, I think that's how you pronounce it, has no retreat cost, which is a pretty cool ability. And it does 20 damage to your Pokemon. Your opponent's Pokemon, I mean. Next up is Pikachu EX. This is a pretty exciting card. Anyways, this does 50 damage to your opponent's Pokemon, and this card's all energy from this Pokemon, which basically takes all the energy away. It's basically similar to Luxray that we have right now. Which is going to be a pretty good card, I think. We just gotta find the right build. Next up is Voltorb, which does 10 damage to your opponent's Pokemon. Next up is Electro, which is flip a coin. If heads, this attack does 30 more damage. That sounds good, to be honest, Proaye fans. Next up is Pachirisu, which is take a electric energy from your energy zone and attach it to one of your bench Pokemon. That's going to be real helpful for building up your electric type Pokemon. Next up is Palmy, which is 20 damage to your opponent's Pokemon. Next up is Palmo, which is 4 damage to your opponent's Pokemon. Next up is Palmot, which its ability is counterattack. If this Pokemon is in the active Pokemon and is damaged by an attack from your opponent's Pokemon, do 20 damage to the attacking Pokemon. Which sounds really good. And it has a sorry about that. And it has no retreat cost. And it also does 70 damage to your opponent's Pokemon. That sounds pretty good. Next up is Abra, which Side Shock does 20 damage to your opponent's Pokemon. Next up is Abra, which is 30 damage to your opponent's Pokemon. Next up is Alakazam, which is 80 damage to your opponent's Pokemon. This attack also does 20 damage to each of your opponent's bench Pokemon that has energy attached, which is going to be real helpful to get rid of energy. Next up is Mr. Mime, which is flip a coin, 4 coins. This attack does 20 damage for each heads, which sounds really good, to be honest, Proaye fans. Next up is Drifloon, which is ram 20 damage to your opponent's Pokemon. Next up is Drifblim, which is 4 damage to your opponent's Pokemon. Next up is Giratina EX, which is once during your turn, you may take a psychic energy from your energy zone and attach it to this Pokemon. If you use this ability, your turn ends. Which basically, if you use it, your turn ends. And it'll be your opponent's turn. And it also does 30 damage to your opponent's Pokemon. And this Pokemon also does 20 damage to itself. Which, damaging to yourself ain't good, but I think this is going to still be a real good card. Next up is Gimme Goal, which is flip a coin. If heads during your opponent's next turn, prevents all damage from and effects of attacks done to this Pokemon. That sounds really good, to be honest, Proaye fans. Which basically means if you get heads, it prevents all the damage it done to it. Sounds amazing. Next up is Machop. Does 20 damage to your opponent's Pokemon. Next up is Machoke. Flip a coin. If heads, this attack does 30 damage plus 30 more damage to your opponent's Pokemon, which sounds really good. Next up is Machamp, which is if this Pokemon has at least 2 extra energy, fighting energy, attach this Pokemon does 50 more damage. Sounds really helpful, to be honest, Proaye fans. Next up is Hitmonlee. Does 30 damage to your opponent's Pokemon. Next up is Hitmonlee. Does 90 damage to your opponent's Pokemon. Next up, Riolu. Does 4 damage to your opponent's Pokemon. Next up is Lucario EX, which it looks so good, yo! Oh my goodness. If you didn't know, Proaye fans, I love Lucario. Especially in the anime. Which does is, this attack also does 30 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Sounds really helpful. But I don't know if it's going to be better than the other Lucario, to be honest, Proaye fans. But we will have to wait and see tomorrow when they release. Next up is Flamingo, which does is flip 2 coins. This attack does 50 damage for each heads. Sounds a decent card, to be honest, Proaye fans. Next up is Aikens, does 30 damage to your opponent's Pokemon. Next up is Arbok, which is your opponent's active Pokemon is now poisoned, and it does 70 damage to your opponent's Pokemon. Which poison can be helpful sometimes. Especially if you want to try to weaken your opponent's Pokemon and finish off with your other Pokemon. Which is real good at finishing off Pokemon. The poison effect. Next up is Paldean Wooper. Which does is your opponent's active Pokemon is now poisoned, which is going to be really helpful for the new Cloudzyre EX. Next up is Cloudzyre EX, which does is if your opponent's active Pokemon is poisoned, this attack does 60 more damage, which is going to be really helpful for attacking when your opponent's Pokemon is poisoned. Next up is Spiritomb. Flip a coin. If heads, your opponent's active Pokemon is now confused. Which basically it does is it confuses your opponent's Pokemon. And it does 20 damage to your opponent's Pokemon. Next up is Shriddle. Does 20 damage to your opponent's Pokemon. Next up is Griefiki. I think that's how you pronounce it. The ability is Poison Coating. Once during your turn, you may flip a coin. If heads, your opponent's active Pokemon is now poisoned, which I think is going to be real helpful for the new Cloudzyre EX. And it does 4 damage to your opponent's Pokemon, which sounds really helpful, to be honest, Proaye fans, for a Cloudzyre deck. Next up is Tickatink. Does 20 damage to your opponent's Pokemon. Next up is Tickatuff. Does is flip a coin. If heads, this attack does 30 more damage to your opponent's Pokemon. Which sounds helpful for a Steel type deck. And next up is Tickatongue, which does is flip a coin. If heads, this attack does 8 more damage to your opponent's Pokemon. And it does 8 damage to your opponent's Pokemon. Which sounds really good for EX, to be honest, Proaye fans. Next up is Vavoom. Does 10 damage to your opponent's Pokemon. Next up is Revamvoom. Revamvoom, I think's how you say it. Flip a coin. If heads, during your opponent's next turn, prevents all damage from and effects of attacks done to this Pokemon. Sounds pretty helpful to get rid of all the effects and damage that they done to you. Next up is Gimme Go. Gimme Den Go. Gimme Den Go. Flip a coin for each silver energy attached to this Pokemon. This attack does 50 more damage for each heads. That sounds very similar to the Celebi EX, to be honest, Proaye fans. Next up is Rattata, does 10 damage to your opponent's Pokemon. Next up is Raticate, does 50 damage to your opponent's Pokemon. Next up is Jigglypuff. Rollout does 20 damage to your opponent's Pokemon. Next up is Wigglytuff. Once during your turn, you may heal for 20 damage from your active Pokemon. That sounds pretty helpful, to be honest, Proaye fans. And it does 50 damage to your opponent's Pokemon. Next up is Lickitung. Does 30 damage to your opponent's Pokemon. Next up is Licky. Does 70 damage to your opponent's Pokemon. Next up is Bidoof, which does 30 damage to your opponent's Pokemon. Next up is B-Barrel EX, does heal 30 damage from this Pokemon, which I don't know. It doesn't really sound that helpful, to be honest, Proaye fans. But healing up sounds good. But we have to wait and see when it releases. Next up is Baneri, does 20 damage to your opponent's Pokemon. Next up is Lopunny, does 30 damage to your opponent's Pokemon. Next up is Zygarde. During your next turn, this Pokemon attack does 20 plus damage, but also does 20 damage to your opponent's Pokemon. Next up is Ino. Each player shovels the cards in their hands into their deck, then draws that many cards. Sound pretty good if you don't have the card you want, but also if you don't want them to have a certain card, which sounds pretty helpful in certain situations, to be honest, Proaye fans. Next up is Pokemon Cinder Lady. Does is heal 30 damage from one of your Pokemon, and it recovers from all special conditions, which sounds amazing, to be honest, Proaye fans. I might run this in the deck one day, to be honest. Next up is Trainer Red, which is the one that I was showing the other day. Which does is, during this turn, attacks used by your Pokemon do 20 plus damage to your opponent's active EX Pokemon, which sounds really good, especially for non-EX Pokemon. To be more helpful for building decks from them. Next up is Team Rocket Grunts, which I think this is going to be a game-changing card. Which does is flip a coin until you get tails. For each heads, discard a random energy from your opponent's active Pokemon, which sounds really helpful, especially against those Misty decks. It's going to be game-changing. All of these trainer cards are going to be game changing, to be honest, Proaye fans, of how we play. Next up is we have these cards. We got Masquerada, which looks pretty good, to be honest, Proaye fans. Next up is Weasel, looks pretty cool too. And then we have this Pokemon, looks pretty cool too. In all the rainbow cards. And then I showed the rest of them off. And here are all the new shiny cards, Proaye fans. Which they look so good! Yo! Which is a new rarity for these cards, to be honest, Proaye fans. I really like them. Especially the EX ones that we seen the other day. Look at this! Shiny Charizard! Oh my goodness, it's real! Lucario! And what trio? Look at these. And here's the best part of all, the secret card, Proaye fans, the Pokeball. Which does is put a random basic Pokemon from your deck into your hands. It looks so good, yeah. And that's all of them, Proaye fans. Let me know which one is your favorite. Until next time, Proaye fans. And I hope you have a good day in your side as I am for them tomorrow.